Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Tuesdays with Suzanne. Today, I would like to talk with you about something that happened for me in the last week that brought home for me the power of the simple practice that we call ground and fill. And I realized when this occurred that there's something that I have honed and refined and worked with and refined some more over the last 35 or 40 years that is called ground and fill. And because it's been so much a part of my life, I take it for granted. And then with what happened this past week, it came into clear spotlight of why it's so important. So I would like to say that I was leaving a gathering of women whom all of whom I adore. It's a very small group. And I walked out the door. It was dark. It was nighttime. And I can hear across the parking lot one of the other women in the group, her voice in panic about the fact that a third person had fallen that was from our group. And I realized in that moment that my response when I see a scene that has panic in it, where I see a scene where people are spiraling into fear and anxiety, that my first response is to ground straight down, just right down into the earth, which is what I did in that moment in the dark. And then I walked across the parking lot and asked what was going on. And the woman who was down on the sidewalk could feel my grounding. She and I had just had an interchange the week or two before where we had talked about grounding and presence and strength. And the moment I arrived on the scene, she just looked up and said, "Here, let me see if I can get up." And the friend that was there that had almost fallen with her and who was very anxious and fearful was escalating. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, don't move, don't move." And the person that had fallen said, "No, I think I'm fine." And it was as though between she and I, she got to her grounding and she gently rolled halfway over and stood up and was fine. Checked in with her later that evening. She was fine. When I asked the other friend, who was anxious and fearful, what had gone on, I realized that she didn't have the capacity to ground under those circumstances. That what she does in a circumstance like that is to get more and more fearful and to spiral into stories about what could have happened and what might have happened. One of the things that I've seen across the years with my students, particularly advanced students that have done this practice for not just once or twice, but for years on a daily basis, that when circumstances in life get challenging, when the chips are down, when the unknown rears its head, if your first response can be to drop deep into your body and to ground and fill, everything else works better. And I'm not saying it's a rose garden. What I am saying is that it enables you to be your most creative, most energized, clear thinking person that you can be. So today we are going to go to the short version of grounding and filling that I teach people after they've practiced with the longer one. But for those of you who've been working with me on Tuesdays for quite a while, I think you might enjoy this. And play with it, notice it, practice it on a regular basis. So the next time you hear a panicked voice or you come upon something where people are lost in fear, your natural response will be to drop in, ground, and fill. Yeah. And I'll talk just a little bit about next week about how if this circumstance had been something that was more, that required more than just grounding, how I might have known that in the dark there. Okay? So if you would, feet on the floor, your back resting, everything you need in place for you to relax, to be present, allowing your eyes to close. We are about to do what I call the short, energizing breath. And it's one where you take a moment and you inhale and you exhale. And as you exhale, you let your awareness drop all the way down into your feet. And once you can feel the soles of your feet on the floor, I'm going to ask you to connect down into the earth. And then in 5 breaths, you will fill, as though you almost, if you think of it, it's like metaphorically having lungs in the bottoms of your feet, so that each time you inhale, the body soaks in exactly what it needs in the next area and the next area. And on each exhale, you can let go of what you no longer need, any excess tension that's hanging around, tight shoulders or something in your neck that is bothering you, or a tension in your gut, whatever it is. Okay? So we're going to do 5 breaths. And I'm going to guide you and direct you. And your job is to simply ask and to open to receiving in each area of your being whatever would nourish and nurture you most in this moment. Now, by the way, you may find that some areas want something slightly different in terms of the quality, the feeling, the color of what's flowing in to your body with your breath. Notice that and allow yourself to receive as deeply as you can in this moment. Okay? So you got your feet on the floor, let your eyes close, dropping down into the earth with roots or light beams or rivers of awareness, whatever metaphor works best for you. Making that connection to this safe, unconditional resource that's with us all the time. Yeah. And feeling the bottoms of your feet as the doorways where this rich energy from the earth, whatever quality it is that you need this morning, is going to soak in through. It's the portal, the doorway. As though you had lungs in the bottom of your feet. Take a breath and let your feet and all of your legs fill with what would nourish and nurture them most. Second breath, allowing your belly and your low back and your pelvis to fill with what would be most nourishing and safe. Third breath, allowing the rest of your torso, your heart, your lungs, your shoulder, your whole backbone. Yeah. Fourth breath, letting this river of nourishing sensation move right down your arms into your hands and fingers. And the fifth breath, still coming in through your bottoms of your feet, traveling all the way through your system into your throat and your whole cranium. And as you feel this fullness, allowing it to move right on out the crown of your head, showering down around you, bathing your skin and the energy field that runs through it and around it. And notice how it feels to be you right now. Notice the sensation in your feet on the floor, your backbone, your belly, your heart, your heart. Yeah. This is the presence that you want to bring to each moment in your world. But it is particularly potent when there is panic around you or fear. Yeah. You don't have to have the answers. Just stay solidly grounded, and whatever you need will show up. I'll tell you an interesting little fact about the event. I spoke with my friend that was so fearful and anxious later on, and she said, I just didn't understand what you were doing. You were so nonchalant. And I chuckled because for her, in an ungrounded state, it felt as though no one cared. She was fearful and spinning out of control at one level, and very, very anxious. And the woman who had fallen, and myself, which is very solidly present, problem solving, getting her to her feet, ascertaining that she was okay, and moving things from there. And the interesting piece about being caught in fear, particularly spiraling fear and anxiety, is that it skews your ability to perceive what's actually happening. And negative outcomes are all you can see. All you can see. And it gets worse and worse. Can you imagine the inability to think clearly when your focus has gotten that narrow and fearful? So again, this incident, which did not have any negative outcomes in the end, taught me once again why it's so important to have the practices that I have of being present, of being grounded, of caring, and staying full as I can in any given moment. And enjoy.